So in the end, it became a question of Mr. Biton's interpretation of what had taken place.
You know better than anybody else what this chef is, okay? Now, before these people, I heard ever that this guy was a son Israel, but these people I called on the phone 2 years ago. Do you know who warned me first about him? Do you know who? I'm asking you this question. Do you know who? No. Who warned me about him? Yourself, Rabbi Schreier, yourself.
About the Rabbi Luban once said that you are just assuming that is a Jew here and all this. I was warned by, before the first week by somebody I don't want to name.
Oh, you can say it with me. I told every chef the Sony Israel.
Yeah, sure. Rabbi Schreier here in front of Rabbi Luban, you said you had no knowledge that Mark was hired. No knowledge in front of Rabbi Luban in the last. Okay, that's a big problem.
That's a problem.
That's a big problem.
It's a big problem when people forget things.
No,
I have that problem also.
Well, forget. He denied knowing that he was hired, and when Joseph called him, that's what I call mechase.
Rabbi Beton, you don't forget anything in your life?
I do, but this is a very important thing. Okay, that a French baguette delivery man tells me a week in advance. Michel.
That's my wife's birthday. Isn't that more important?
Michel tells me a week before he was hired, just a good thing. It's something good. He said you're gonna have a new chef from Levana, and a week before. Rabbi Schreier says he didn't know. But you called him, yeah. You called him, okay, that's all. Rabbi, you are vehemently denied for 2 years that he knew that he was hired. That's a very important point.
That's right.
That's a very important point.
That's right. Okay, we heard.
Okay. You want to deny that it was a cover-up then? You did
what?
That there is a cover-up. You don't want to talk about the Rabbi Schreier. Okay, I forgot this.
That's a separate issue.
Separate issue. You don't want to address it? Well, what do you mean? The whole thing is connected. So now.
Not the whole thing is.
Oh yeah, it is
connected.
It's connected. This is.
Let
me tell you something, Rabbi Luban. This step, I never thought even that I would make it here to anybody. This is not what the whole thing is the cover up that when he was hired. Okay, Rabbi Schreier said he didn't know about it, and he let Jose hire him when he knew there was problems with him. Okay, when you hear this tape, you know there's problem with kashrut.
What did it say in this tape?
What?
When I hear which tape?
When you hear what we heard with Rabbi with Mrs. Kirschenbaum, okay, you know there have been problems of kashrut.
You have here a tape saying that when from Jose saying that before he hired him, he spoke to Rabbi Schreier, and they discussed the fact that he was fired.
He heard about it like everybody, like customers. They heard like whoever.
What did he say? Before I hired him.
Okay, so the first thing I did before I hired him was to call Rabbi Schreier to know if there's no problems with you, that any rabbi doesn't speak well in. I took the phone because I wanted to know. I didn't want to hire someone and the next day the rabbi would tell me this guy is a problem. Okay.
Did Rabbi Schreier acknowledge that he had this conversation with Joseph?
No, of course not. He said, no, never. And then I never knew about it. He said that to me already in the beginning, just to throw that out in the air, just in case the problem is going to come with the chef. He wanted to distance himself from any problems. And in front of you, Rabbi Luban, here, second meeting, okay? Right. And we talked about it. You tell me a week right before. What did he do, the chef, in the meantime? He just started. He didn't do anything. What did he do?
I thought that Rabbi Schreier said that he knew he was hired, but
no.
And they said there was no cautious. It wasn't for cautious reasons that he was let go.
Who?
No. Rabbi Schreier originally said that he didn't know anything.
He didn't know anything. He said many times. Why do I tell her here? On the conversation, I mentioned that 3, 4, 5 times. I would not spend my time if he never said that. He to me said it, to you he said it. Okay? If you don't remember, it's a problem. You have to take notes. What kind of story? He did say it. And Rabbi Elephant wants to come and coach and do something in the last minute on the fly and change the story. He forgot, he knew. You cannot do that. I'm sorry, you cannot do that. That's the cover-up. That's the cover-up.
All right, let me do that. Listen, could you just remind me of the details of the story? My memory is very poor. With the chef, with Rabbi Biton as well. Did when he was hired, did in our conversation with Rabbi Biton, did you say that you didn't know that the chef was hired at the time that he was hired? You didn't know he was hired, and did. No, but did Jose ask you before you hired him if you could hire him? Jose did not ask you if you could hire the chef. But Jose did ask you if you know him. Jose said that he asked you if you knew him, but you don't recall having that conversation with Jose.
Vous l'avez appelé avant de l'engager.
Bien sûr. Mais parce que j'appelle pas, j'ai pas la...
J'appelle Rabbi Schreier avant de l'engager.
Oui, ils peuvent confirmer ça, Mais, quand j'ai vu dans son résumé, lui, il était chef dans un restaurant cachère qui était supervisé par l'OU, la première chose que j'ai fait avant de l'engager, c'était appeler Rabbi Schreier pour savoir si vraiment avait aucun problème avec Soyou, avait problème aussi des rabbins qui travaillaient là-bas, avait des problèmes avec le chef. J'ai pris le téléphone, comme j'ai pris le téléphone, j'ai dit, parce que moi je voulais savoir, je voulais pas engager quelqu'un et le lendemain le rabbin va me dire, bon, mais ces gars-là, il y a un problème. Alors, avant de faire ça, je l'ai appelé, j'ai dit, ce mec-là, le Rabbi Schreier m'a dit, oui, il n'y a pas de problème, depuis 2 ans qu'il travaille avec. Et même aujourd'hui, ça l'a...
Okay, so the first thing I did before I hired him was to call Rabbi Schreier to know if really there's no problems with you, that any rabbi doesn't speak well in. I took the phone because I wanted to know. I didn't want to hire someone and the next day the rabbi would tell me this guy is a problem. Okay.
You just heard Rabbi Luban and myself at the 4th meeting reading out loud a portion of the translation of Jose's revelations to me, which was the part he was not too happy to hear. So here's the translation of Jose's conversation with me sometimes in mid-November 2006. I said, "You called him before you hired him." Of course. I repeated, "You called Rabbi Schreier before you hired him." Exactly, yes. He can confirm this to you. Then when I saw in his resume he was a chef in a kosher restaurant which was supervised by the OU, the first thing I did before I hired him was to call Rabbi Schreier to know if really there was no problem with the OU, if the OU or the rabbis working there had any problems with the chef. I took the phone because I wanted to know. I didn't want to hire somebody and the next day the rabbi would tell me, well, this guy, there's a problem. So before doing that, I called him. Who? Rabbi Schreier? Rabbi Schreier. He told me, yes, there's no problem for 2 years that he works here. So this is exactly what the Rav Machshir wanted to hide from the get-go. To hide, he gave the green light to Jose to hire the chef. A chef, as you know now, that was fired from another kosher restaurant for kashrut reasons. Everybody understands the severity of such a blunder and why the OU has been so active and so desperate to cover up at all costs.